4 NFL teams, 2 conference championship games, and only a few more shots to win big on the NFL playoffs with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Counting down to Super Bowl 57, new customers can bet just $5 and get $200 in free bets instantly. If you're not a new customer, you can feel the conference championship thrills with stepped-up same-game parlays. Take your shot at an even bigger NFL payout and boost your winnings with each leg you add up to 100%. That's right. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code Theo. New customers can bet $5 on the conference championships and get $200 in free bets instantly only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code Theo. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details and make sure that you are okay to gamble. If you have a gambling problem, this might not be for you. Breaking news, guys. Manscaped now sells beard products. That's right. They are once again revolutionizing men's grooming with the brand new Beard Hedger Pro Kit. From a beard trim to a fresh shave, the technology behind the Beard Hedger Pro Kit allows you to shape your signature beard look. Now you can finally use Manscaped products to make your drapes match your carpet by going to manscaped.com and using code Theo for 20% off and free shipping. You got to take care of your hair and how you look and what you look like. If you want to, they have it all: beard oil, beard balm, beard shampoo and conditioner, everything. So get 20% off and free shipping with the code Theo at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code THEO. We now have Be Good to Yourself crew necks available in light blue, maroon, and cement. That embankment gang color, you know it. Check these out along with the new windbreaker at theovonstore.com. And thank you for your support. I've got some new tour dates to announce. We will be going to Newark, New Jersey, May 10th. Westbury, New York, May 11th. And you can get pre-sale tickets to those shows with code RATKING starting Wednesday, January 25th at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And the general on sale starts Friday, January 27th at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. I will be in Las Vegas on June 30th and July 2nd at the Encore Theater. We've also added a 7th show in Austin on June 9th and a 4th show in Houston on March 23rd. All other shows and dates, theovon.com/TOUR. Make sure to go there to get the best pricing available and follow those links. And looking forward to seeing you guys. Oh, man. I bought this button-up shirt. I got it on. I don't know if I like it. I don't know if I like being in this. I will say it. I don't like being in this sort of shirt. I don't like, this the concept. We're going to button you up, boy. We're going to button you up, you little nasty boy. I just feel like they're like getting you ready for, I don't know. I feel like somebody's just packaging you up in some, like a formatted, I feel like I'm being formatted. You ever formatted a document or something on Microsoft Word and you got the document how you want it? You did as much as you could. You got a couple extra commas in there. If you like me, I unlimited commas, bro. I do unlimited commas. Tiffany, comma, Ben, comma, fucking the, comma, neighbor. All caps, unlimited commas, bro. But then you do formatting and it puts it into regular, whatever, so the teacher can grade it. And you give it to the teacher and they're like, this is a history report. What does this have to do with anything? And I'm like, well, that's history, baby. Tiffany been fucking a neighbor. You know what I'm saying? That's history, boo. That's in the books. That's in God's library now, son, because she did it. She did it. So anyway, I'm in a button up. And for me, that's a lot. And also I never liked, because when I was young, all the rich kids, they wore button ups. They had the buttons and it was buttoned up, and damn, they just, their lives looked buttoned up. And I didn't like them. I just didn't like it. It resembled something I didn't like. I think in some ways, organization or something, I don't know. But something about it just always made me feel uncomfortable. But that's old shit. And today I'm doing it. I'm wearing it. I'm buttoned up for you today and with you today. And I'm grateful. I'm excited to be here, I'm excited to be here. A lot of interesting stuff just been going on in my life and in your life. And I want to hear about some of it and talk about some of it and share, But I feel a little formatted. I feel like, this button up got me feeling, just damn caged up. I don't know what I'm talking about. And I never have, baby. I'm happy to be here with you today. Let's get into it. Welcome. So that's a slow tune. That's something we went with. And there's something about it I like. There is a light. There is something to see that will keep you warm. There is a possibility. There's something about that always, because it's hard to see a lot of times, man. Dang, it's hard to see. It's hard to see that possibility. I struggle with it a bunch, man. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see your possibility. I want to sit right here and boil. I want to boil in this damn in this anger broth. I just want to boil in this anger broth. Man, it's hard to sometimes see some possibility. But it's always there, and usually it finds you. I notice when I'm fuming, boy, when I'm just huffing my own I'm just huffing my own fucking anger duster. I'm just huffing the damn keyboard cleaner of my fucking anger. Some type of possibility breaks in. Somebody makes me laugh. Something happens. I see a thing. A bird will fly by and shat on somebody's window. God damn. And that's when God's breaking through and saying, hey, there's possibility out there for you. What's going on, man? It has been, I just got back from Paris, baby. French, son, and I've never liked the French, I'll be honest with you. If you put 70 French people in front of me, I don't like them. They just, the way they're like, oh, yeah, They just, it sound like, you just want to just pat them on the fucking back, boy. I just want to spray paint my hand red, white, and blue and pat them bitches on the back and get the fucking truth out of them. What are you trying to say? It sounds like Japanese, but they fucking got they're nasaled out or something. It sounds like somebody hit a bunch of cotton in a Japanese dude. God, dude. You just can't get, it sounds like somebody's just ejacking out into the just somebody just got stuck ejaculating, you know? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? So anyway, I'm angry. I guess I am. I am fucking keyed up today, man. A lot of shit going on. I'm trying to quit vaping. It's vaping, motherfucker. So I'm still on that shit, dude. God damn. I'll fucking put my tongue in a damn birdhouse, baby, and lick the walls. I don't care. That's just where I'm at today, dude. I'll eat a damn bird's ass, bro. No cap. Praise God, man. We're working through it. But dude, I went to France. We went to, a lot has happened. I want to thank everybody that came out in Colorado. I just went into that advertiser voice, like whenever some of the ads are like, if you're doing the tour date reads, that's the voice sometimes. I just noticed that. Yeah, sorry, I'm amped up. I feel like there's so much to tell you guys. So, yeah, let's just start. I went over to Colorado, and man, it was awesome. God, it was fun. It was good. We went to Pueblo, and it used to be a native town, I think. I don't know a lot of the history, but we went there, and it's beautiful. We went and saw the mountainsides in the distance, monuments, national monuments, beautiful place. I mean, just damn kind of place you want to just damn push your spouse off of, just beautiful cliffs and dwellings and just God. That's where God shows up in places like that. That's where you get up on those mountains and you look out and you can hear God saying, "This ain't an app, homie. Welcome to my bandwidth, dog. Look what the Lord's doing." And that was good. We seen a lady out there too. I didn't know, it's a mining town. If you're not familiar with that. And, it used to be anywhere people mine. It's just people just damn digging in the dirt, looking for something. And people dig. I mean, look, people will dig far. I grew up I grew up on the wishing well circuit. I mean, they had a lot of people. Our town was, semi-famous for the number of wishing wells it had in it. So you'd see people rolling through town just nickeling up the fucking earth, baby. Just fucking humming dimes into Mother Nature's orifices, if the wind blew right, you could hear damn 60 cents hitting the damn bottom of a well somewhere. People just wishing their ass off. Because we had about 6 wells in our town, wishing wells. And if you're not familiar with a wishing well is basically, it's like a place you go to wish for something that you want. And I don't know how it started. I mean, I guess a wishing well, somebody dropped their money into a hole in the ground and just wish they hadn't. I mean, there's no other way for that to have had, And then they probably felt so ashamed, they just built a thing around it and just said, "Hey, everybody come do this shit." But, yeah, so we went to Colorado. It was just great. People came out. So we had a couple of devout lesbians over there got in the little Violencia after one of the shows outside in Denver. That was interesting because that's where, a lot of lesbians, they're starting to peak out. When some lesbians, they got so much man in them, that shit will peak out every now and then. But they were just damn trying to beat each other into just, I think, and it should be if enough lesbians beat each other and whoever wins gets to be a man. I mean, what are we doing, if we're not giving goals and opportunities? If we're not, because if you see two hardcore fucking, wallet wanters out there, they out there hunting that slick wallet, homie, and you see them go at it and one of them win. What do they get? But one of them should be able to hit that final form and unlock just basic dude at a library. Yeah, you don't get top dude. You got to start at at library dude. You got to start over there at Hogwarts Henry, babe. You don't get to start just at the top. You know, you don't get to be like a MacGyver or a who's a famous young man that's talented? Joe Burrow. All right. What else? So anyway, that was Colorado. And now Pueblo, yeah, that was a mining town, and we saw they had a woman there. We passing down the street, and a lady's over there digging in a garden, mining. We seen a woman over there just hand mining, just looking for items, and she had damn half of a Claire's boutique in her hand. She had this bitch had a half of Zales in her palm. There's pictures right here in the YouTube. If you're watching it, she had, this bitch had half a Kohl's jewelry counter right there. And it was funny because it was like, who would look? She was looking in in a median of a walkway where a guard, you're like, who would ever look for gold there? And this lady was just hands and knees out there. And this lady, she had a kind of a middle age on it. She was probably anywhere from like about 28 to maybe 55, 56. And she looked like Greg Valentine. That's who I'm thinking of. And he was a famous wrestler. And if you put them side by side. But she was out there digging in this garden. And we walked up, and I figured maybe she'd been on some tough times, so we're going to, drop her a little bit of cash and just say hello and check in on her. And she said, I'm looking here. I'm looking for treasures. And then, I asked her, well, why are you looking here? She goes, because nobody looks here. And I looked at the space, and it was just a garden. It was like a place nobody even walks through it. You have to it was up in the air and then a garden. It was like a kind of somebody you'd see they'd put a garden in the middle of a walking area in a nice part of town, And then she showed me in her hand, and she had some gold bullion in there. She had a couple necklace pieces and different gold. She had real gold she'd found. And I was like, damn. I don't know, just interesting. This lady's looking where nobody looks. And if you just said in the beginning, hey, look there, everybody said, nah, that's crazy. Nobody even walks up there. You can't. There's not even there's no way to get. Who would walk up there? And here she was, half a handful of gold. But yeah, she reminded me of Greg Valentine, who I used to love and adore, and he's probably dead. All right, anyway. But yeah, I want to tell you, then we went skiing, and what else? I got a letter from Kai the hitchhiker, which blew my mind. Went to Paris, France. All those things occurred. But yeah, we went skiing, and it was magical, man. We went over to Beavers Creek. And if you haven't been to Beavers Creek, it sounds like a bladder infection, really. It sounds like if somebody sits down, like a woman that sits down and she can't stop her vagina maybe from making a sound, or, like, hey, girl, Wouldn't that be crazy if some women, if they sat down and their vagina made like a, like you guessed the wrong answer on a game show, like, that would be like, oh, dang. That woman's got a gay dude stuck in her vagina, bro. But, yeah, we went to Beavers Creek, bro, and it was magical, man. We just went out, and there was nobody out there. It was the day after Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And it was just, there was nobody out there. And it was, oh, man, it was so amazing. We went out there, and we met this one dude. Actually, this was like every dude, but there was this one dude. He like worked on the slopes, you know. He was like, bro, we caught devil's femur, bro. Yeah, right. I mean, it was fresh out of the gate, man. We got out there. It was just, you couldn't hear it. You could hear your fucking dick whisper, homie. We were out there, man. And it was like, I think it was top of the morning. I don't know. I've been on Molly and computer duster for like a while, you know. The doctor says I'm going to be fine, but that the residual effects of the computer duster could last for up to half a decade. So, but we were out there, man. God, it was sick, bro. Yeah, I broke both of my clavicles. Yeah, I can't even hug my stepmom anymore, but it's fine. She smashed like 3 of my friends anyway. So, whatever. My dad's rich. Dude, my buddy Vixen was out there with us, and we haven't seen him. Yeah, pretty sad. He just coasted off into the pines up there at crippled Memphis. I don't know what. I mean, we're probably going to hold a vigil for him later if you want to pull up. Yeah, it's all you can drink. He'd want it that way, but we're going to auction off his van. I mean, it's not his van, but his dad hated him. You're like, what the fuck are we, what? What are we talking about here? Some of the people that worked up there, it was another level, but the place was beautiful and a lot of great folks. And got to go with my tour manager, Tim, and a lot of his boys from Montana, these group of white men. And it got, everybody was chill, man. Everybody was chill, but it was beautiful. So today's episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. We are grateful they are a sponsor. Because when you're at your best, you can do great things. That's true. You're open to possibility. You're open to things. But sometimes life gets you bogged down and you may feel overwhelmed or like you're not showing up in the way that you want to. Well, working with a therapist really can help. It really can. Having some place to go and someone to reflect with, someone to kind of groom the trail that you're going to walk along, someone to help you machete some of the growth. Because when you're feeling empowered, you're more prepared to take on everything that life throws at you. BetterHelp is there if you need a therapist. If you're thinking of giving therapy a try, BetterHelp. It's convenient, flexible, affordable, and entirely online. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time. I needed BetterHelp. I tried it. And it worked. I had to pull over on a roadside one day and get some dang BetterHelp, and right there, bam. Therapists you can text with, therapists you can FaceTime with. Hell, I FaceTime with one woman so much my damn phone overheated. Shut down. Heat warning. That's how much help I needed. If you want to live a more empowered life, visit betterhelp.com/THEO today to get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/THEO. All right, we have great calls from you guys. I want to let you know about this. This is wild. So a while back, somebody made a face fake of me and put it onto the internet and social media. And so I am in it. You know, it's my face put over Kai the Hitchhiker. Smash, smash, smash. He's the famous smasher, you know. He's that handyman that fucking couldn't find a nail, cuz you know who that is. That's him, baby. He's that hitchhiking nail hunter, boy. You know? He's that DeWalt. Anyway, there's a documentary about him. He's the famous hitchhiker that hit a guy with a hatchet and hatcheted a guy out to save this kind of thicker little biscuit lady who was getting getting attacked or hugged out. It's the whole story's insane. But anyway, what happened was, so somebody put my face onto a Kai the Hitchhiker onto his story, right? It went around on social media as we put it up on social media. So he filed a lawsuit. He says, or this document says, Caleb L. McGilvery, a jailhouse lawyer. He is apparently, according to this, he's a lawyer now. Says, I've just filed a lawsuit because of the video you made. you want to settle outside of court, the U.S. Marshals will be coming to your door to hand you a summons. You'll never, if you want to settle outside of court, now's your chance. I'll settle for what my costs are, which is approximately so-and-so amount. And then he wants the videos down. And he will withdraw the lawsuit. And we can go our separate ways. I don't know. I'm a jailhouse lawyer, and he has 9 years of litigation experience. And he may, look, I don't know how to handle this, but that's why. I mean, I literally was just seeing the documentary about him, and here's this. And it's funny because during the documentary, I think you can relate some with this feral child, this young man who something was uncomfortable or wrong in his upbringing. You know, something was off. And he appears very, like, kind of manic a lot. And, you know, also there's a lot of transient people. That's some of the energy that's out there. But a good-hearted dude, you know, kind of dude that would just, you know, give you the skirt off his back, you know, or whatever. And that's good. And you kind of love the guy, you know. But just an amazing, interesting story. And then got this court summons, and this all appears very real. So I'm gonna have to talk with an attorney. I got a buddy over there at Morgan and Morgan. I'll hit him up and see. Maybe on the next solo episode we can actually address that, and I can get some more information. So, what else? I've been talking to a gal, and that was good. It was cool. And then she didn't really want to, I think I wasn't her thing, kind of. So that was, you know, that's been interesting. I don't know if it's been interesting. I don't know if that's the word. You know, it was like, I don't know. It's interesting when you're trying to date or whatever, and then you kind of put yourself out there. You say to someone, hey, it's like the hokey pokey. You put your right foot in, you know, and they put their right foot in. So now y'all are a couple of right foot. Y'all are a couple of just right foot. You guys are right there. And then you're like, that left foot, it wants to go in. You're like, let's go. Let's get in. Let's do it. And then somebody's got to put that left foot in first, usually. And I put that bitch in, dog. And then it was just both of my feet, and just one of her feet was in there. And I'm like, ugh. And she don't want that. She don't want that 2-footed bad boy. She don't want that dos zapatos animal. You know what I'm saying? And she took her foot out. And then you're just standing there by yourself. You know, you're on your own 2 feet, so that's good, and you're in a new place. You're in like a little bit of a braver place because you went there a little. But yeah, I think that shit, you know, I think it's always been tough for me to tell somebody I like them. That's always been tough for me. You know, I don't want to tell you that. I don't want to. It just, man, there's a part inside of me. It's not even me. It's something deep inside of me that feels very scared to say, very scared to say, I like you. I think it's to a woman, you know, very scared to say, okay, I'm going to do this. So I don't have a lot of self-pity about it. I'm not trying to whine about it. I'm just trying to share what's going on in my life and things that are just things that are just normal, you know. But yeah, there's something I talked about it a little bit on the Louis episode, and if you didn't get to listen to that, It was awesome, man. It was really awesome. And I talked a little bit about it on there. I think we had a voicemail comment about it. Let me see if I can find this voicemail.
Theo, man, it's Cam down here in North Carolina.
What's up, Cam? Thank you for calling, brother. I appreciate you calling. Cam, that's a good name, baby. Cam. Could be short for camera. Chamomile. You know, this is our son, chamomile. Yeah, soak him in hot water. Oh, see what happens. Or cam, the past tense of came, I guess. You know, somebody. Oh, damn! Somebody ran up and just cammed on him. You know, and took off. You know, or last week he got he cammed. Somebody cammed on him at the house and just ruined supper. You know. Anyway, onward.
I just got done listening to you and Louis C.K., and I just want to congratulate you, man, for the compliment he gave you on your comedy. I can just imagine how good that felt from your point of view, and I was so happy for you hearing him speak the truth on your talent, but also I know he's got to be a hero for you, and that must have been a magical moment for you. I was so happy. It kind of brought a tear to my eye.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate you all. Thank you for the consideration and for calling about that. You know, it's interesting. I texted him a few days after. Because there was one thing he said in a video. There was a lot of stuff he said, and in a weird way, I wish I'd tried to. You know, he said some things. Like he said one thing. He said, "You can't be a pedophile if you're a child." Which was interesting. Like, and I'd never realized that in my life I needed to. When I was young, there's funny. You know, I don't want to say funny, but there's things that happen with kids where you know, people see each other's wieners or booties or whatever. People, you know, you're humping your pillows and, you know, like Louis was talking about telling juicers, him and his buddy at like summer camp. And there's things that happen, you know, where, you know, I had some moments when I was a kid when I would just hug my sister so hard, like she was a doll. And I think I felt a lot of shame about that. And I'd never had a man say, "Hey, you're not, this is not, none of this makes you a bad person." I'd never had any that ever happened in my life. So it was interesting that even just sitting there talking with him, when he said that, I needed that. I needed in my life to hear a man who, you know, who's older than me. I don't know how old Louis is, but I think he could be my dad if he had me at a young age. And I just needed to hear someone I had looked up to in certain aspects. You know, I don't know all the aspects of his life, but as someone that I had some admiration for, I needed to hear them say something like that. And I just didn't realize it. And sometimes you don't know where those pieces of life hit you at. You don't know who has. Anybody could say something that you needed your father to say, or you needed your mother to say. So that was interesting to me. And I texted him and I said, "Hey, you know, I just wanted to say thanks. There was this thing you said that I had needed to hear in most of my life, and I had never heard it because I'd had a lot of shame about things, even just about, you know, I think you have shame about masturbating and, you know, spraying out and everything. And, you know, and my dad had just had, you know, he didn't engage with me about any of that or talk about it. You know, he had me bury damn half of a Smurf's bed sheet in the yard. And it was just always very uncomfortable. So to even have little moments like that, but I think I just found some connection in that call with him. Just hearing a voice that's knowledgeable, but he wasn't judgmental. Obviously he's been through all the nooks and crannies of, sexual discussion and thought probably in his own head. And so, yeah, just to have like an adult say that, that you can't be, you're not bad for, it was, I don't know. It was kind of blanket, but it just hit me and I needed to hear that. And I never knew I did. So anyway, there were moments like that. Anyway, sorry to interrupt your call so much. Let's go onward.
And the reason for that is just because you put yourself out here and you make yourself vulnerable. And there's a lot of us out here that really benefit from that, man. And I know when I'm going through some shit, I can tune in and listen to you, and I feel better. So I appreciate you, and just keep doing your thing, man.
Gang, baby. Thanks, Cam. I appreciate that call, man. Yeah, there was some moments with Louis where I just felt, I don't know what else to do except be myself sometimes. I know it might sound crazy, but I don't know. There's so much inside of myself that wants to get out of me. And there's things I want to say that I don't even know what they are. There's things that are inside of me. I think there's conversations I never got to fucking have as a kid. I think there's a lot of shit just inside of me that's like, and I know people say, hey, don't think about the past. And I'm not thinking about it. But that shit lives in me, dog. And I think there's a lot of like, I don't know. I'm a late bloomer, man. I know I am. And that's okay. If you go through a whole childhood of not getting to have interaction or to talk or have any idea what your feelings are or help somebody mold what feeling even is, and you're just surviving in the fucking world, and then at some point you start to quit trying to survive, then you still have a whole, I still have a whole Rolodex of shit that I didn't get to get right, or I never got to even get wrong. Yeah, I don't know, man. Some of that shit makes me fucking, and some of it still makes me angry sometimes. There's a lot of, I got a lot of anger in me sometimes. And people say forgive and forget. I get that. I'm in a program doing all that shit. But that just because you say you forgive doesn't mean that something just disappears. Because some of this shit, man, it fucking lives in me. Sometimes there's still a kid inside of me that's so fucking angry, bruh. And it's my job as an adult just to not to let him drive the boat, Anyway, I'm not trying to get into self-pity, but there was just a lot during that conversation. It's like I'm still collecting conversations that should have happened when I was a kid. And I'm out here, trying to collect them as an adult. And not even collect them. I just don't know where they're going to happen. And sometimes I don't know that they are going to happen. It just, nothing you could do, So I'm just grateful that God lets me be alive and that gives me an opportunity to have some experiences. But thank you for the call, dude. I was excited. I felt like we had a good connection. I didn't know. I was scared. I'd seen Louis one time in the hall at the Comedy Store when he was very famous in mainstream media. And, he seemed very standoffish. He seemed like a fancy guy. And, but I also didn't know him. But he didn't seem like approachable or anything. But I felt excited to get invited to his show. I hadn't gone to a comedy show in I'd been to like the first comedy show I'd ever been to. And then I went to see Bob Newhart one time in Chicago. And then I saw Louis, of actual show where I went and just sat in the audience and watched. I've seen a ton of sets at the Comedy Store and that, but anyway, this is getting a little bit long here. So, all right, let's get into a little bit of news here, and then we'll go on to the, I'll tell you about the fashion show. What happened here in the news? We got Alabama woman who joined ISIS wants back in the U.S. Nope. Bye, bitch. That's what I'm saying. A woman who left Alabama, joined the Islamic State in 2014, now says she regrets her action and is hoping to return to the United States. If I need to sit in prison and do my time, I will do it. I won't fight against it. Oh, now that's interesting. That could be fair. But I don't know. You know, it gets to a point where as a country, you make so many bends of whatever your original rules are that you're not a country anymore. You know, if you have like at the pool rules, say you have the pool rules, and these are the rules. You can't swim during this hours. You can't, no swimming 30 minutes after sandwiches or dining. No diarrheas. No pissing in the pool or whatever, dookie. So you have those rules, but then you start breaking all the rules. Oh, we'll change this rule, change this rule, change this rule. And then you have somebody that comes up, and this lady, whatever, just sprayed tit milk on the rules. And went off to another country to join a group that was against your original country. I say bye. I say bye, man. Because you changed it. Then there's no more rules. Then this pool doesn't exist. Now you got people eating out of the pool, making soup. You got one dude diarrheaing down here by the ladder. The ducks have fecal alcohol syndrome from the duties at the other end. And then somebody's selling duck. You got a Chinese dude selling duck meat on the side of the pool. You know, you got some fellow over there just huffing down duck empanadas, and he gets infected because of the guy by the ladder. Just the whole thing, but it's all because the rules keep getting adjusted. So I say, no. You left. You said, fuck this place. Then that you made go pick another place then. If ISIS didn't work out, you didn't cut it in ISIS. All right, go play hoops in Russia, boo. And some of my reasoning behind with the rules is because at a certain point, the people that care about, that like going to the pool in the beginning, they're not going to want to be at the pool anymore. Nobody's going to want to be at the pool. So now you made all these adjustments about the pool, and you don't have a pool anymore. Now you got a duck soup diarrhea farm. That's what you got. And the people that originally cared about the pool, that made it the pool, they're not going to care anymore. They're going to find some other place. They're going to get into private areas and have their own pool. They're going to figure it out. So I don't know. I just liked it better when, and maybe it's just me, and this is just my perspective, but when it felt like we all had the same pool in mind. What else? Parents in shock as gorillas mate in front of kids at zoo. A pair of gorillas at a zoo left parents shocked as they decided to start doing it like they do on the Discovery Channel right in front of the kids. When you take the kids to the zoo to see all the wonders of the animal kingdom, you've always got to understand there's a risk that all creatures, great and small, will be up to some naughty antics. I love this. Hell, I think the zoo could charge more for animal sex hours, honestly. If you come at 2 p.m., that's when everybody's fucking. You know what I'm saying, bruh? Because you go to some of these cages now, you go to the lion cage, he's in there. He's always sleeping, or he's laid out, or looks like he's on a couple Xannies, you know. They always got a kickball next to him. Who's ever seen a lion play kickball? What fucking lion gets up and he's like, roar? Then you see another lion run up and and the other lions are like, roar, kick it. There's no fun. What do they do? They're not doing anything. And there's always like a tightrope in the cage going from like one tree to another. Like the lion's just gonna just walk on the road like, oh, I'm a rope lion. I'm a tightrope lion. Roar! Fuck! What the fuck? They don't do shit, man. I'm sick of paying entry fees to see animals not do shit. They don't do shit. These animals don't do shit. They just lay there like rich animals. That's all they are. Because we took them out of the wild. The wild is where God is out there setting it off. And Mother Nature's out there fucking twerking. And people are eating BBQ and getting gunned down. But we take them out of the natural environment. We put them in this rich ass fucking maximum or minimum security prison. And they're living large. They're kickballing. They're eating lamb. I saw one video, they're feeding lamb to lambs. I'm sick of these rich ass animals. That's all this is, man. Have you ever lived in a shitty neighborhood and then moved to a better neighborhood? Have you ever moved from Memphis to Nashville? Okay, that's what's happening with these animals. And people are like, well, we got to set the animals free. No, what? If we set the animals free, every penguin will be at Albertsons in the frozen food section. You'll have every penguin in there fucking just beating open a thing of fish sticks. Every leopard will kill every missing pet in your area. There will be 0 missing animals. You can't free these animals, man. Because they'll be right back in nature. They'll be right back in the wild. And the wild is gangster. That's the UFC for animals, man. These animals, they have it good in the zoo. They got it really, really good. So I say we either put them to work or tell them to take a 4-legged hike. I want to go to the zoo and they should have animal sex hours in the afternoon. 2 to 3 p.m., everybody fucking. All right? $40 to get in. That zoo would be packed. That zoo would be, even the French would be there like, But we got to get these animals to work. These zoos, they're not making any money. Nobody's going to see you could watch a nature channel, they fight immediately. The Dana White should do the Nature Channel. These bitches fight immediately on the Nature Channel. So these animals, I think they either need to step it up or get the That's what I'm saying. I want to go to the zoo. I want to see, I want to see these apes fist fighting. I want to see the rats making soup like they do in the movie. I want to see penguins miming. Why aren't penguins miming? You got the colors, do the fucking work, boys. But zoos could easily step it up. 2 p.m., all the animals fuck. That's easy. 2 p.m., all the animals fuck. $40 to get in. Bring a rain slicker. Boom. Now we're talking business, baby. But I think if you go to the zoo and see some animals fuck, lucky you. All right? Just make sure that you have a conversation with your son or daughter afterwards to explain what happened and that they shouldn't feel ashamed for watching it. Thank you. Breaking news, guys. Manscaped now sells beard products. That's right. They are once again revolutionizing men's grooming with the brand new Beard Hedger Pro Kit. From a beard trim to a fresh shave, the technology behind the Beard Hedger Pro kit allows you to shape your signature beard look. Now you can finally use Manscaped products to make your drapes match your carpet by going to manscaped.com and using code Theo for 20% off and free shipping. You got to take care of your hair and how you look and what you look like. If you want to, they have it all: beard oil, beard balm, beard shampoo and conditioner, everything. So get 20% off and free shipping with the code Theo at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code THEO. Let's move on. What else do we have? A couple calls that came in. This episode's getting long. That's okay. Went to France. Let me have a sip of my Celsius, man. I went to France. So this thing came out of nowhere, right? Get invited to go to France. And, I don't like the French. You know it. If you had to pick 6 things I don't like, the French would be 4 of them. And so I got invited. They were doing a comedy fashion show. This fella, Kid Super. And at first they said Kid Super. I thought it was one of, like a Make-A-Wish fella. So, sometimes you get those, they got that 40-year-old in a cape or something, and he's, he wants to jump out of a window or whatever, and they won't let him because he's, because he's mentally, he's really, because the devil tickled him whenever he was being made or whatever, and he's not well. But it wasn't. It was a fashion show put on by this fella, Colm Delane. Make sure I get his name correctly. Colm Delane, yes. And a real beautiful fella, man. A really kind, smart, neat guy. And I'd had a friend, Aaron Levy, that was part of the John Elliott clothing brand. So I'd been around some clothing, fashion, high fashion. And I don't know much about fashion. You know that. I mean, look at me. There you go. And I don't. And, I got 3 pairs of pants. I wear one of them all the time. This is it. These little camo deals. It's paper thin, but they're nice, from North Face, and I like them. But anyway, we get invited to this thing, and they said it's going to be, you're wearing, some of the linen, it's just damn fresh silk. You could smell a spider's asshole on it. This shit is hot off the 8 arms, baby. You know what I'm saying? This shit is fresh. And so, yeah, we go, first of all, we get to the airport and they're taking us on a jet. This thing, Puma put us on a jet. And it's, this thing was long. This thing had 2 bathrooms in it. And I pissed in both of them, cuz, that, boy. I'll piss in it, you know what I'm saying? I'm pissing at each end of the yard, baby. And I'll let the devil do the laundry, baby. You know what I'm saying? I'm pissing when I get in something. That's always who I've been. As a child at night before I go to bed, I'd piss off each side of my bed and I'd piss around it. I'd stand on my bed and urinate around it. Just to keep, whatever bad stuff could come get me, to keep it away. But anyway, so we went there. Who was there? Andrew Santino, Matteo Lane, other comedians, Stavros Halkias, Fari, and he's a French comedian. Who else? Jeff Ross, a couple other comedians. Anyway, so we went out on the stage and we had to walk in a fashion. And we had to do and do some material on stage. So that was part of it. And it was just wild, this was the most nervous that I'd been to do comedy in a long time. Because for one, people are coming to they judge clothing. This is like fancy people. This is like the fanciest people. Everybody has a blog. Everybody has a web page. Everybody has a lawyer. It's people like that. And so it's like, I knew these people were going to are judgmental about clothes anyway. They're here to judge clothing all week. So if you throw in an outlier like a comedian who's coming in, who's not even part of their world, we're the easiest thing for them to hate on. Oh, I can hate on this guy. Oh, easy, done. Comedian, done. So I was like, oh, these MFers, man. And it was rich people, bro. And I don't like the rich, man. I've said it and you know it. And people say, well, man, you make money. And yeah, I do. But I'll never be rich. I'll never be fucking infected with that shit. That shit starts in your heart, son. So I won't be like that. And I know because when I get around rich people, I don't like them. And I just felt that in there. Just that age-old energy, man. You know, because they had a rich doctor when I was young. They had a rich veterinarian, right? And he would drive through our neighborhood. Sometimes people would cut through from the highway there, and then they had another highway. And in between the two highways was our neighborhood. And off of that, people would cut through our neighborhood and drive off to down one of the highways and be nice neighborhoods. And they had this veterinarian, and he would throw dead animals out in our ditch and shit when they drove by. You know? And so that shit always stuck with me, man. You know, like, oh, this is just a place where that's what they think of this. That's what they think of us. This is just a place where we put dead animals. And you could damn use Clorox. You'll never get that shit out of my system. But anyway, and I know this is a judgmental place. People are judging fashion. People are here to be judged. So I know the easiest thing for some blogger, which is basically just a job where you are afraid to fucking fight. The easiest job for a blogger is to point fingers at the outlier that comes in to say this is bad, right? Instead of, saying this is good from all the, bribes or whatever they get, I don't know, or whatever their end goal is. But anyway, say this bad. So I just knew going up against it was going to be tough, and it turned out it was okay, and we did well. And the Kids Super clothing, it's nice, neat stuff. And Colm, the guy who runs it, was very neat. Andrew Schultz was there. That was fun to get to spend time with him. It was great, man. That was exciting. I went for a walk. I didn't try to do too much in France because I wasn't there long. And you get out in the streets and it's French. People are Frenching, just fucking Frenching around, dog. But we got to go out at night. We went in, they had nice music at night, and just the whole experience was fancy. And it actually ended up being a good experience. Sometimes I carry old ideas into things. And so I got to kind of monitor that. But my nerves are warnings for me. And they say, hey, this is what's up. Beware of this. And I'm glad that they're there. Those are instincts too. Sometimes it's not nerves, it's instincts. And you got to really ask them, are you a nerve or are you an instinct? Tell me. And you got to figure it out. Okay, let's get into a call or two. Here we go. Some that came from you guys. Here we go.
Hi, Theo. This is Faye from Salt Lake City.
Hello, Faye from Salt Lake, baby. And I like salt. Onward.
I just wanted to say that I love the show, and it's had more of an impact than you would probably think, because it is, oddly enough, the only thing that calms down my 78-year-old grandma with dementia. If you don't know, dementia is when the Lord starts deleting all the files in your brain. Yeah, I'm like her main caregiver.
Oh, yeah. That's that spyware, baby. The devil's spyware, baby. Onward.
Yeah, I'm like her main caregiver outside of my grandpa. So 3 days a week she's over here, and she gets real restless without him. One day my fiance had the idea to just throw on this past weekend, put it on the TV, cast it from YouTube to the TV, and it was like magic. And now, like, the whole family knows to do it when she's getting nervous.
Oh, well, that's sweet. That's really sweet. I think it's sweet that you spend time with your grandmother. I'm sorry that parts of her just kind of eroding back into the universe, you know. That's a lot. You know, I'm amazed how much care you have in you. That's pretty fascinating. And I'm grateful that somehow maybe I'm able to be a part of spending time with her. You know, my dad was 76 when he passed, and it's nice. Now I get to spend time with a 78-year-old. That's nice. You know, that's nice. It's there's all these little ways that we get our loose ends kind of tied, you know. So many unexpected ways. Let me hear more.
Just that's first order of business is throw on Theo. Give her some ice cream and throw on Theo.
Now, I see what now. I think she might have y'all. I think a lot of this is about the ice cream, and that's how, and look. So a lot of people will fake dementia to get ice cream. And who can blame them, homie? To be honest, I'd go live in a senior center right now. I think the age you got to be is 55 or 59, right? A lot of them. In Arkansas, I think I want to say 54. But in a heartbeat, I would go live in. You get games every day with other people, right? You can play board games at 4. 4:45, bro, y'all fucking eating, bitch. I'd go live in a senior center right now. You know how much work and enjoyable things you would get done, play the piano, talk to somebody about a war. I mean, God, you know? Put up a wanted poster of Bobby Lee outside of your door. VFW meeting tonight in the game room. You know what I'm talking about.
And it's crazy. She thinks that you're here in the living room with her, talking to her, and she thinks she's talking to you, basically. She thinks she's a guest. But yeah, I'm a fan. Grandma's a fan. Whole family, really.
Well, man, I'm honored to have her on every single week. Maybe it'd be interesting to have her on. I don't know. I'm gonna have my producer reach out. It may be a lot to put somebody with that on, but there could be some fascination to it. But I'm happy to have her. I'm happy that she is a guest every week, and I'm happy to be a little part of y'all's lives, and for sharing that she's a part of mine. That's awesome, dude. That's so cool. Thank you, and give her a hug for me if you're allowed to touch her. I don't know if people like being touched or not, if they are demented or whatever. All right, let's get one more call here that came in. Let's go.
Hey, Theo, this is John from Minneapolis, Minnesota.
What's up, John from Minneapolis? And sorry about what happened to your Vikings, but y'all beat the Saints a while back on that Minnesota Miracle, so that's life, bruh.
I've been listening to your podcast now for about a year, and over the course of this year, I've just been uplifted by it so much. I work for my dad, and I listen to your podcast almost every single day. He owns a window cleaning business and was recently diagnosed with stage 4 brain cancer. So me and my brother have been having to kind of take over for him. And it's just been a really tough time for my family through this. Anyways, I know you lost your father kind of young. I'm young myself, not as young as you were, but I'm only 21. And I'm just hoping you might have some advice for me on how to move forward through this time of life. Just finding it real hard.
You know, I talked about this a little bit on the Louis episode where, my dad had a girlfriend in his later years, and we went over to her. I was over at her house one night, and she had a nice house, man, and the it looked like it was like a big like a condo. And I'd never been in a condo before, and it had like big windows, and she made these roast beef sandwiches, and the roast beef was like in a pot, and it had like sauce with it, and I'd never seen anything like it. You know, I just felt like the meat itself had just drowned itself and done it on purpose for me. It was that good, you know. And I remember being over there one night, and my dad had gotten, I didn't know that my dad was sick, right? And in the middle of the night, we would sleep out on the couch at her place because they didn't have, because my dad was sleeping in she had an extra room, my dad would sleep in there, and then we slept on the couch. But the couch was nice, boy, and my dad had got up in the middle of the night, and he was going down the hall towards her room, and I was awake, and I was like, what is he doing? Is he, you know, is my dad sexually active? I didn't know. You know, I didn't know what they were doing. You know, I knew it could have, I just didn't know. And so I kind of went over there, you know, because I'm a pervert. And I went and I saw that my dad had he had diarrheaed himself. And he was going to ask her, he was asking her for help, you know, and yeah, it just, and like 6 weeks after that, he passed away. I mean, that was when I first found out that he was sick. And yeah, I think it was just such a moment of like, okay, is this guy's, what is there sex going here or what? And then it's scary. It was just a lot of stuff, you know? So yeah, I can't, you know, I don't know what's going on in your world. And so I didn't mean to make that about me. That made me think about that. And I just talked about it on that Louis episode a little bit. But just that it was just scary, you know, and I remember being scared. And you know, it's so neat that your dad has a business that you and your brother are working in. That's so cool. That's a piece of him, you know. That's a piece of him. That's things that we miss in the world, is when our dads would do something and then the sons would carry it on. And it wasn't like, you know, before everything got all globalized and we sold out a lot of our values for the benefit of few, you know. And sorry, that was a little political there, but it was when they, you know, more mom and pop operations, because with mom and pop come children, and then the children become the mom and pop, and then there's something you created that carries on through you, you know. But it's beautiful that you guys have that, you know. And sometimes if I want to think about my dad or feel what he feels like, you know, I'll put my hand like on my heart. Because my heartbeat came from my dad, you know, and my mom. And so I'm a remix of my parents. And when I miss my dad, you know, this is the sound that he made. It's a sound that he made that was in him. Part of the sound that's inside of me, the beat that comes in me, that stays alive, was in my father. And the only place it is now, it's in me, you know. It's in my siblings too, but part of it is in me. And that's his sound. That is his sound. And that gives me some solace sometimes. It gives me some solace sometimes. But I'm sorry that you guys are doing that. I'm blessed. It's a blessing you have a brother there to go through it with you. And you have a relationship with your father. It sounds like you're going to be able to deal with some of this and process it. And I would get some recordings with your dad if he is still alive. I couldn't tell from the call, and spend some time with him as much as you can and get some of that video and audio recorded too. Always have that. I have a few pictures from my dad, and his other family took everything else. And yes, I'm kind of resentful about that shit. But anyway, I'm sorry you're going through that, man. Thanks for sharing. And keep sharing it with people, because other people are going to have little things that will help you. And that's what I got, man. What else? Yeah, I didn't mean to finish up on a downer there. I loved watching Brandon Moreno fight. I'm so happy for him, baby. That was amazing. I can't believe I got to go to France. What the heck, man? I'm excited this week. We'll be in Louisville and Indianapolis. Some new shows are on sale. And just thank you guys for being a part of my life. And just try and be good to yourselves, That's the same thing I'm going to do. I haven't had anything to eat today except for this caffeine and some antidepressants. So I'm going to go meet my friend Tim and eat. And we just don't know where the possibility is going to come from. And if I shut myself all the way off, then I might miss it. And there's still a part of me that wants to shut myself all the way off. Isn't that crazy? I want to just close it down. I'm not talking about take my life or anything. I'm just saying, I want to make myself unavailable. But then we might miss out, And so you step back in, you put the right foot in, you put the left foot in. And somebody great, something, whatever, something is going to come and meet you there. And actually, you know what? I'm going to change it up. We're going to go out like we sometimes do, man. I love you guys. Thank you for being a part of my life this week. If you're struggling with something, you just got to make it through today. You don't have to make it through a million years. You don't have to make it through 40 years. You don't have to make it through 10 years. You have to make it through today, And you got this shit, baby. Gang, baby. We got this shit, baby. Gang.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Jonathan Kite, and welcome to Kite Club, a podcast where I'll be sharing thoughts on things like current events, stand-up stories, and 7 ways to pleasure your partner. The answer may shock you. Sometimes I'll interview my friends. Sometimes I won't. And as always, I'll be joined by the voices in my head.
You have 3 new voice messages.
A lot of people are talking about Kite Club. I've been talking about Kite Club for so long, longer than anybody else. So great.
Hey, sweetheart, here's the deal. Anyone who doesn't listen to Kite Club is a dodgy bloody wanker. Do you know what I mean?
Hi, I'll take a quarter pounder with cheese and a McFlurry.
Sorry, sir, but our ice cream machine is broken.
Oh, no!
I think Tom Hanks just butt-dialed me. Anyway, first rule of Kite Club is tell everyone about Kite Club. Second rule of Kite Club is tell everyone about Kite Club. 5-star rule. Like and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts or watch us on YouTube, yeah? And yes, don't worry, my Brad Pitt impression will get better.
All right, we got that popping right there. A little bit of audio, a little bit of touch. Let's get that hitter. Hello, December. Where have you been?
Celebrate living, celebrate misery. You know that soon we're gonna die.
Let's have some fun while we all die. All right, happy December, guys. Happy December. And that is Spencer Jacob Grau. Beautiful man. Pretty decent looking guy, you know. Kind of looked like I met him one time. He sent me that song on the internet through the magical web of electricity, you know. Through that straight up just, you know, that electronic tunnel that the devil built. And he sent me that song one time, and it became that hitter, you know. It became that hitter. You want to catch another hitter, you can grab that Gray Block Pizza. It's on Pico Boulevard in Los Angeles, and they got them stylish pies, man. If you ever feeling empty, go fill yourself. Gray Block Pizza. They got that picante pollo, that zingaro, huh? That Grecian. They got the Grecian, huh? Used to have a Grecian, came to our town once a year trying to sell oil paintings. You know, olive oil, though. You know, and homemade oils and shit. Horrible artwork. And the thing is about a bad artist, man, sometimes you'll buy that shit just to get that bastard away from you. So not everybody in our town, but a lot of people had these shitty paintings because the dude was such a good salesman. You know? So everybody got this horrible fucking artwork. But the guy was just such a good, you know, oh, you need the artwork, you know? Don't you want this, you know, this peanuts? Worst drawings and paintings of peanuts. Shit smelled like, I mean, dude, I think he was using condiments sometimes to paint with. I don't know what the fuck that dude's deal was. But that's life, man. That's life in a small town. I remember they had another boy lived by me named Bubby Jenkins. And his daddy, and he was adopted, you know. He was picked up out of the ether at a governmental center. You know, and that's adoption. And I mean, it's a game show. When you're in foster care, your life is a straight up game show. Every time a parent comes in the room, it's just like dun 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 dun, because that's your chance. That's your chance to be that hitter, you know. And he got scooped up. You know, he's probably I don't remember how old he was when he got picked up. But he got picked up by some parents, and that's. You know, and it was like, I think he was like 11. So at that point, you're like you're a 6th or 7th round draft pick. You know, you getting late. You know, you are a late round pick. And he got picked up. Anyway, what was this story about, dude? I was talking about they've had an artwork. Jenkins. Oh, his daddy used to drive me to school. And his dad was Italian. I think he was Italian. I don't know. He was kind of sunburnt and had dark hair. And at that young age of my life, I thought that was Italian, you know. And he was sunburnt and had dark hair, and he used to smoke cigarettes inside of his car. And he would, his wife wouldn't let him smoke inside, and so he would go smoke outside in the car. He would sit in there and just hotbox his car with them Winstons out there blowing Winstons and huffing down, you know. I mean, this dude was probably 900% Muppet. Dressed like Johnny Cash, and he'd sit out there and smoke them cigarettes, them cigarillos. And he used to, when I would miss the school bus, he would give me a ride to school. And he would quiz me on my spelling words, and the whole time he'd blow that cigarette and smoke in my face. Catch me with that hit of smoke. You know, just light me up with that tobacco cloud, you know. He'd be like, all right, spell inconvenience. And I would be like, I-N-C. And then he'd hit me with that Becky cloud, you know? And then I was like, N. Man, it's hard to smell. I mean, it's hard to spell. It's hard to do either one in a cloud of smoke. And that is the God's honest truth, man. That's the gospel, according to your boy right here. But it's hard to spell when an adult man is blowing that Becky smoke into your face. And that was just another unique man that lived in my town growing up. But good to see you guys today. It is Monday, December 4th in the year 2017. And look, they had a beautiful moon. I don't know if you guys got to get a peek at it. And it might still be out there even tonight or whenever you're listening to this, but they got that beautiful moon. And that moon, man, that thing is just like like one of God's nuts just fell out of his ball bag and landed in the sky. I mean, that is that beautiful. I mean, it's like somebody just washed the chocolate off of a damn Almond Joy. And all that's there is that big coconut with that nut in it, you know, and that's what the moon is. A lot of times it's just that big sweet ball of sucrose floating up there, you know, and that's just that's just one of Mother Nature's fucking, you know, that's just one of Mother Nature's marbles, and that thing's beautiful. But if you didn't get to see it, go check that moon, because sometimes we forget to look at the sky. I don't know if it's happened to you recently, but I'll forget to look up at the sky and remember I get caught down here in little things on my phone, you know, looking at papers, you know, seeing what my neighbor's cat is doing, you know, because a lot of times he'll get out. But I have a very strange relationship with my neighbor's cat, and some of you guys know that, you know, and he'll get out there. Sometimes he can tell. This is going to sound crazy, dude, but if I am in my house, you know, pleasuring myself, he can tell it, you know, and he will wait by the door sometimes, or he will, you know, make meow noises and meow sounds and do meowing, and he can tell when I am spending time by myself or trying to be, you know, lightly emotional with myself. But yeah, that is a really wild cat. So anyhow, it's Monday, and what's going on in our lives today? You know, it's December, so we're starting to narrow down what's happening in our existences for this year. This year is going to be in the books. And you can start to feel it in the air, you know. People are a little more friendly. You know, I have the Christmas carols going on full blast in my automobile. Man, I love the Christmas carols. And bells will be ringing. The ones I don't like, Mariah Carey. Dude, I wish a fucking missile would hit that, you know. I wish it would just hit her right in her, in that dark cinnamon coont of hers. Mariah Carey's a straight muppet. She's what's wrong with this country, man. Mariah Carey. You heard it here. But what else? I was in Canada. I got to play cards with Bill Burr. I'll start there. So I'll tell you this. They have this podcast network called All Things Comedy, and they've been very gracious over time to allow me to have my other podcast called Allegedly on there with my friend Matthew Cole Weiss. And on that same network, there's a new show where comedians sit and play poker together. So, you know, I get an email, come play, and it was a great group. Bert Kreischer, Bill Burr, Steve Ranazzisi, who died in 9/11 but didn't die in 9/11, and John Reap, who's one of the first comedians that I ever featured for down in Louisiana. And John Reap, you know, he's the Hemi guy. He's like, that thing got a Hemi. He's from Hickory, North Carolina. And it was just great, man. We got to sit in a warehouse, have pizza. People was drinking alcohol and just play some cards, play some poker together, joke around. You know, we were just joking about how hard it is to be a man today. But it was interesting to just be around Bill Burr. I'm obviously a huge fan. There's no one more confident on stage than Bill Burr. I can listen to that man forever. And he's always like, you know what you're going to get. he doesn't seem too affected by ego. He doesn't seem, he was super nice, like, and I've spent time around him before. I got a little vibe for being around him, but I'd never really just sat next to him for 2 hours and we're all playing in a poker game. But it was, but just a nice guy. Some of these, comedians that are at these, that are superstars, like Hollywood superstars, there's an ego that goes along with it. And I think Bill Burr is a superstar comedian, but I don't think he has that celebrity side as much as others do, if that makes any sense. Because the celebrity side is that's the ego. The side of the talent, that's the comedian side. And man, he's just one of a kind. But that was great for me, man. I'm sitting there, I'm fucking like kind of nervous. I can like feel Bill like sitting right there next to me, We're just sitting at this half table, all playing cards, and there's like about 15 people there shooting this show. And like, yeah, I'm a little bit nervous. I know Bert Kreischer really well. I know the other 3 guys at the table well. Bert Kreischer, the machine, and I've known Bert for a long time and John for a long time, so I feel more comfortable around them. But to be sitting there, next to a guy who's just, man, I just felt inspired. I felt really, really inspired. So that was a great moment for me, just to be able to be, in those guys' presence, with an activity that we all are doing together. So it's, it's just poker. We're just playing around, and I'm trying to think of Bill made me laugh a few times. Everybody made me laugh. I tried to be a little more quiet and just listen instead of, trying to, put my 2 cents into it a lot. But it was great, man. We had a great time. That was a real joy. And then I was up in Canada, in Calgary. Let me tell you this: if you haven't been to Calgary, I'm thinking like, Calgary, what is it? I didn't even know Canada was a real place for a long time. I thought it was just a place where America practiced safety, and practiced safety equipment. Because when you think about Canada, you think, well, what is it? What is Canada? It's America's hat. It's this cold hat that America wears. If you look at a map, it's like this big cold hat. And I'll tell you this, there's people up there. And they're as friendly. I don't feel any stress when I'm in Canada. You get there and you don't feel like nobody's judgmentally looking around. There's so much less judgment. Like, people keep to themselves, but not in a way where they're doing it to keep away from you. Like in America, there's this weird, and maybe I feel it more in Los Angeles, and that's definitely so. Like, you go into some smaller towns, into some real communities here in this fine country, and you don't feel it as much, but in Los Angeles, you feel everybody, looking over like, oh, who's this mother? Who's this? Oh, look at that. Big Daniel, with his, full body cast, or who's this bitch over here, wearing electricity around her neck with them Louis Vuittons or whatever. Who's this? Oh, this kid's got, this kid's a gender neutral sea bass, and he thinks he's a shit because he's got a fin coming out of his back, and 4 different types of genitalia between his legs. Oh, people think that they're fancy out here, but you don't feel that in Canada. In Canada, everybody's just Canadian. Some people may have a little more than others here and there, but in the end, that it seems like everybody kind of has each other's back. And now look, I've been to maybe 5 cities in Canada. Bro, Canada, you could lay down in the street, middle of the street, in a city, in a downtown, fall asleep. And when you woke up in the morning, someone would have put a blanket on you. And cars that were driving down the street would have probably shut their engines off when they got close to you, gotten out of the car, and pushed their car past you as to not wake you up. Like, that's the kind of, people are just way considerate of others. And it's not like they're trying to be, it's in their nature. It kind of reminds me, if I had to guess what America was like, maybe, 50 years ago. And maybe not for everybody, but, it'd probably be, Canada's very white. So it'd probably be what America was like for most people. I mean, I know there was a lot of racial tension and struggle, but for regular white people, I bet it was similar to probably something that Canada is. Canada's diverse too, man. They have, I mean, it's pretty white, but everybody's, I mean, they have a lot of Indian, a lot of Pakistani. I mean, I don't know. I had a blast, man, up in Calgary. I didn't know this about Calgary either. It's like the second richest city in the world because of oil. They got that drip, drip. They got that drip, droppity drop. You know? Damn, boy. That oil. That oil. And what else happened to me, man? That was it. We flew up there. We had 4 guys. Pancreatic cancer. It was like a charity function. You know, we went. We did it. What else? We had some fans come out. I had this gentleman named Chris came out. I think he drove 6 hours or something. He made this beautiful art for me. That he drew about the Hampton Ain't Easy, you know, about the tour from this year. He drew that up for me. It was phenomenal, man. I just want to thank him for driving in and just bringing that to me. It really touched me because it's just nice of somebody to do that, you know, to go out of their way to do something special for somebody else. What else? I got back last night. I went and spoke at an AA meeting. You know, you go to these meetings sometimes and, you know, you sit in there and you talk at like some of these centers. And these centers, they have, you know, it's guys that are in like these treatment facilities. And you go in there and, you know, they got 8 or 9 guys in the room. And some of them you can tell like, you know, they're down on their luck. You know, you can feel it. And it's tough because, you know, I go in there and I'm just clean. You know, I'm clean. I just got out of a shower at my apartment, you know, and, you know, I drove over there in my, you know, my clean car, you know, and it's comfortable. And I walk in there and I have clean clothes and, you know, I have somewhere to be when I leave. I have something to do the next day. And I walk in and I sit in some of these rooms with these men. And this was a men's only meeting. So that's why it was just men. And I sit in there and I'm just start listening to these guys, you know, just saying hello. And you could feel some of them like when they shake your hand, like their hands shaking kind of. And it just brings me back down to like the reality of life, of my life, you know, of the world that I'm in, you know, because I can easily get caught up running around thinking, what do I need to do next? What does my money look like for the year? You know, how am I going to best turn this next deal thing that's going on? What's my next move to propel myself? You know, to think about me. And then I go to these meetings, and this is one of the main reasons I go to these meetings, you know. And I don't talk about this kind of stuff that much on here because, you know, part of the AA stuff is you're not supposed to talk about it. But you know what? Whatever. You know, this is part of my life sometimes, and more often than not, it's part of my life. But I go sit in there, and these guys, and you go around the room and you share. It's called a panel, and there's like 3 or 4 guys, and we sit and we share our story. You know, we share like what our story is. You know, it's just kind of wild because, you know, I went from this crazy weekend where I was out in, you know, I'm up in a different country and I'm doing a show and there's 500-600 people and it's, you know, a sold out venue and you know, we got to be the hit, you know, we got to be that hitter. You know, we got to be that backy smoke. We were that backy smoke that was getting all in people's faces and veins and eyes. And then, you know, I get off that plane and I get back just into a reality that sets me down and sets my spirit at a level where I'm just not thinking about myself. And you just share, and you share your story. You know, when I talk to these men about, you know, that I'm not there to preach to them. I'm just there to share what's going on in my life. And just how I grew up feeling inferior and just never feeling okay. And just always feeling like I was always feeling like I had everything, always feeling like I had like things had to be changed. But no matter how many little ways I changed them, I was never reaching a desired effect. I was never feeling a comfortability. And things would be great. Things would be great or bad or, you know, I was never able to find a comfort. And that's just what I started sharing with these guys. And then I come into these rooms now, and I go to these meetings, and suddenly I'm in a group of people, and we're all have something in common. And that commonality is it's a problem. We all have some type of a problem, an addiction or a discomfort or a uneasiness or a loneliness. That's why we all come to these meetings. And when I sit in there, there's just something special when it makes me feel when I'm part of a group, when I don't feel alone. Even if it's something fucked up that brought us all together. It's like I don't even care. Dude, I don't care if all of us have no arms or legs and no head, and we all crawl to just this body pile up, meet up, just like a bunch of boulders, and we all just roll around on each other like rocks. I would probably feel joy in that just because of the fact that I'm in a group. I think as most of my life I felt so, for some reason on the inside I just felt so separate. I just felt like, I just never felt like a part of something, and I just never felt okay. And I sit in these groups and, and I'm talking to these guys and that's just makes me feel okay for some reason. And I think a lot of it's just the connection, the connectivity, because we can get separate. We can get separate pretty quick out here. So anyhow, man, that was my weekend. I didn't mean to get all wild or weird on you there. Just trying to share some of what it's like when, being in this AA program. I've been in here for about 16 months now. I don't know if I'll always be in this program. I don't know if I'll always be a part of it, but for now I am. And I'm grateful because I get to have moments where I go into rooms and I don't feel alone. And the people that I'm there to share my story with, they don't feel alone. And it's crazy that by sharing our problems, or coming together because we have an issue, that is how we don't feel alone anymore. That's how we solve our problem, Because forever you're out here trying to solve your problem all these different ways when all you really needed was to fill up that void that makes you feel like you have a problem in the first place. So I don't even know if that makes any sense, but something just propelled it right out of my body. I'll tell you what does make a little bit of sense to me is that television shows have gotten horrible. It's so bad, a lot of times your own dog will leave the room if you have a dog. Or if you have mice in the walls, you can sometimes hear them scurry off when you put on a certain program. It's because TV and film aren't about entertainment anymore. They're about advertisement. That's what you have to understand. What you're watching is an advertisement cloaked in light entertainment. Entertainment is the secondary goal of the programming you're watching. Well, that's changing now because we're putting things back in the hands of the people. And when I say we, it's an organization called Livetree. Livetree.com. You can go there. It's changing the entertainment industry by creating a new platform called Adept. The public will be able to fund what they want to watch, own what they help produce, decide who's in it, what goes on through the process of content creation, funding, and distribution. It's basically like suddenly entertainment is going to become almost like, I don't want to say fantasy football because this is a reality, but you're going to be able to invest and then have a say-so in who is in something, and if the project does well, have a return on your investment. How crazy is that? That is what is going on at Livetree. You can go to livetree.com and check it out, see what is happening. The revolution is now. I'm definitely going to be over there checking it out myself. All right, let's get into the news. We'll go with big news first, and then we'll get into some smaller stuff. North Korea firing missiles. Psh, oh, well. Shoot them off, bro. Shoot them off, dude. That's nothing. I used to know a guy who could spit high up in the air and catch it in his mouth, dude, every time. And that's all you remind me of, North Korea. If you want to shoot something, shoot it up. Pop, pop. Because y'all ain't doing nothing. You're over there Wizard of Ozing, beating people for chewing gum. God forbid somebody learns to blow a bubble and you're out there beating them with sticks or whatever you guys are doing, making people juggle eggs and stuff and teaching babies how to juggle and dance and shit like that. I've seen it on the internet with those electronic dancing babies and all of that. And I've seen what you guys are doing over there. You got infants over there riding on gators and doing all kinds of shit and wearing neck braces and stuff. And I don't know what you guys are up to, but shoot your little missiles, guy. You're never going to do anything. Here's why. Because you love your existence over there. Yet Yam say, whatever that guy's name is, Yam Cham. Douse. I was going to say Dao Sang. That's not it. Whoever. Oh, fuck. I almost said Obi-Wan Kenobi, dude. I don't remember. But whoever you are, bro, you're not doing shit, dude. Shoot your missiles, dude. What else? A Navy pilot drew giant dicks in the sky with a fighter jet. How about this? Awesome. Sounds awesome, dude. Easy, though, to draw a dick, I think. I'd love to see the guy get a little bit more intimate. Draw some vagine out there in the clouds, you know? Wouldn't it be cool to see a big cloud going by with a nice hoo-ha on it? With that little bit of a spoiled cookie out there? Because I've seen some spoiled cookies out there, especially down near Tampa. And when you get down near that Gulf of Mexico, they got some spoiled cookies down there. A lot of them ladies ain't taking care of their bakeries. You feel me? I'm having coffee. What else? A grandmother accidentally invites a stranger to Thanksgiving. I love how that's news now. Back in the old days, that was just called being nice. Grandmother accidentally invites a stranger to Thanksgiving. Lucky guy. Here's another one. Undercover Detroit cops try and arrest each other and then fight. Fuck yes. That might be the best headline I ever even read. Detroit cops undercover cops trying to arrest each other, and then when it's not working out, for some reason, they fight each other. That's so Detroit. I love that. You know what? I always wonder why they only have undercover cops. Why is that the only job where you're undercover, you know? Like, I would love it, like an undercover stripper. You know, you're at the bakery, you're buying a couple of donuts maybe. The lady's like, oh, do you want these? You want these Krellers? Or you want these tits? And suddenly she's an undercover stripper. You didn't have any idea, you know? How great would that be, huh? Oh, you want that bear claw? Or you want that fox foot? And she just spreads them gams open, you know? You want that bear claw? Or you want that that eagle's underbite, you know? She just shows you that cooter. Good times, though. Navy pilots drawing dicks in the sky. Undercover cops fighting each other. It's like the 80s all over again. I love it. I love it. People say the world's falling apart. Are you doing okay? Here's how to know if your world is falling apart. Look at your world. Talk to your family. See what's going on. Take care of your home. Take care of the people around you. You're good. The world isn't falling apart. We're going to be fine. We're going to be fine. I'm just amazed people have so much time online all day to fight about all this bullshit. If you have time to fight about it, then you're probably doing okay. You're probably doing okay. You know? What else? Let's see. In my hometown, a Mexican restaurant opened up in downtown Covington, Louisiana. And that's beautiful to see. And I want to say a belated congratulations to the Covington High School Lions from my hometown. They made it to the quarterfinals, and they lost last week. But I know that was huge for them down there and everybody just bringing the community together and having some local excitement. And I watched that game on the YouTube, and it was beautiful to watch and just see, you know, and hear people down there. You could hear, I mean, it's a good community. You got all types down there. You got people that can't read, and you got people that can read. But it's a good time, and it's and I'm just happy for that environment down there to see your hometown do something big. But they got a new Mexican restaurant downtown. I remember the first Mexican kid we ever got in my town. And I've told that story before about Mexican Nicholas when he came to town. Beautiful boy. And he had that kind of canary nutmeg tint on his skin, you know. And he had that mustache, you know, that word curtain. You know, a lot of Latino boys, they strain their whole childhood just to sprout that word curtain, you know. And he came into class, he came into sex ed. We just started learning about sex ed at school, you know. And I thought it was going to be this dude named Ed was going to run in the room, spray out. Because I'd seen this fella working freelance by the train tracks. So I'm thinking, hell yeah, finally Ed is getting his money. You know, finally Ed is coming up. Ed is getting work. But it's a synonym, sexual education. It's a synonym. But he came into class. I remember our principal opened the door to our classroom in science. Science, boy, you could hold an animal at your desk. You'd be sitting at your desk. Mr. Blackwell was our teacher. He's sitting at your desk holding a baby squirrel, holding a hamster, G-pig, oyster, lizard. One kid in our class, he'd been in a fire. He couldn't hold anything that would scratch his skin, so he'd get the oyster every time. You know, he's sitting in class, little Sherman get that oyster. Because he got them fire hands, you know. He got them paper mache hands, you know. You can't put anything real heavy or real spicy on him. Because he's already been in a fire. And you don't spice up somebody that's been in a fire. You don't surprise them with any, you know, turmeric or any salsa or anything like that. Boy, that shit'll eat right through their skin. Very, very little skin on a fire person. So little Sherman, he'd get that oyster every time they set that soft oyster in his hand, you know, because it wasn't going to move or try to scratch him. But everybody's sitting in class. You got an animal, you know, got a little pet. Because we're learning about science, you know, usually. So you got a piece of science in your hand. A living piece. One of the Lord's little, one of the Lord's little dirt puppets. You know, you have one of them. One of the Lord's little Voltrons. An animal. A piece of science on legs. A damn animal. Something that can fuck, dude, when you're not around. Think about that. You ever think about that? You ever close your eyes and think to yourself how many animals are fucking right now? If you ever got an ego and you want to take yourself out of ego, put yourself into reality, you do that. You close your eyes. Think that in the distance right now, there are animals just fucking each other. There are all types of animals. Cats, moose, not devil worshippers. Yeah, devil worshippers, dude. They're not animals, but they're not doing well as people. And all types of animals. The forest is a fuck fest, dude. It's an orgy. We always think the animals are just kind of milling around eating. These animals are fucking each other. That's what they're up to. Dude, there's a lot of videos online. I've been online watching a lot of funerals. A lot of funerals online recently. I've been watching funerals online. And it's kind of crazy, I guess. You know, I guess it makes me feel like a part of something. You know, and I like to have feelings. So a funeral will give you a feeling, you know, if you're sitting there watching a service and people sharing their feelings and stuff. And you can comment, you know, Dale seemed nice, you know. Some people have rude comments, you know. There were some rude comments, you know. Let's see some titties up in this motherfucker. Some dude in all caps. Like, damn, bro. You know, Dale worked for the post office. I don't think that's that's the kind of severance package he was talking about. But anyway, Nicholas came in our classroom, Mexican Nicholas. He'd been in class, you know. Our principal opens the door. She said, students, it yells new student. And it was him, his first Mexican. Sat in class, raised his hand. Been in class 4 minutes, dude. In sex ed, he raised his hand and he said, hey, Mr. Blackwell, what does pop that cherry mean, Holmes? What does pop that cherry mean, Holmes? And he became a legend. He became a legend. And that was the first Mexican ever. But now it's great to see that small towns are evolving. You know, people want to look at small towns and say these people aren't diverse. We had one shot at diversity. And we made that kid a legend. Just so sick of people saying, oh, well, you know, you don't have diversity. You don't have this. You know, you're not diverse because you don't have something. Yeah, you don't know something until you have it. You can't force something on somebody. Diversity is a blessing. If you get to live in a diverse place, then that's a blessing. And if you aren't experiencing it, if you have neighbors that are different and you're not getting some sort of an experience with them, then you're missing out. You are missing out. And that's the truth. That is the truth, man. A little bit more news here. Man accidentally burns down 3 buildings and damages 20 others trying to make a sword in his backyard. Well, fuck yeah, he did. I mean, that's obvious right there. A man, questionable there, obviously, burns down 3 buildings and damages 20 other buildings trying to make a sword in his backyard. On December 1st, a man was in his backyard. First of all, some of these backyards, what's going on back there? How much space, how much room you need back there? What are you doing? What are you doing back there in your yard with your fucking equipment and saws? What are you doing? You building swords? Well, get it together, guy. On December 1st, a man was in his backyard. A man. What a piece of shit. It was probably a white man, too, you know. They fuck everything up. Sorry for my language, guys. I'm not in a bad mood today, but I'm just fired up. I'm feisty, you know. A man was in his backyard playing Game of Thrones. Dude. By trying to make his own sword, he got the furnace up and running to melt the steel. What, bro? Use wood, bro. The only problem was that there was 30-mile-per-hour winds going that day, and the embers hit nearby buildings, burning down 3 and damaging 20 others. Still waiting on the update of how the sword turned out. Well, that's what you get for making swords, right there. You lose all your friends. Literally, you lose all your friends. You cost their friends their place to live. Amazon contractor decides to deliver his own package by taking a dump in someone's driveway. Well, that's what happens when Amazon's trying to, same-day delivery. Guy don't have time to shit. A guy doesn't have time to shit because he's got to get a new pair of sandals to your stepmother. What the hell is going on? Do you need it that fast? Same-day delivery? Guy probably gets fired or docked pay if there's probably an access code on the shitter. If he presses his code in there to go to use the actual, room day digestion, then he's going to get fined. So now the man got a shit local, when he's out and about. This week, an Amazon contractor got caught taking a shit in someone's driveway. Well, that's for driving, dude. It says it in the word. After he placed their package on the front porch, he was caught on film. You can watch that online. So if you want to watch a little bit of local shitting going on, you can check that out online. But it's just, they don't have these guys. I'm sure they probably get fined if they cough, if they sneeze. They get docked pay. They're not getting their package there quick enough. Guy breaks a sweat. That's probably, costs him $2. Man can't even shit anymore. You can have men wearing diapers running around. Men and strong women and some lesbians running around wearing diapers. Just so your frickin' Uncle Marty can get a rare pack of Oreo cookies that just came out. The hell is going on? Other news, magnitude 4.4 earthquake strikes off the coast of Dover, Delaware. Well, finally Delaware's in the news. I forgot about Delaware, didn't you? You did too. I know you forgot about Delaware. Delaware. What is it? It's Britain, basically. It's our Britain. And if we had any balls, we'd fight them again. Because they're screwing around. Britain did a lot of shit that they don't take any responsibility for. We got James Corden on the air out here, as a host of late night television when his grandparents enslaved half the universe. What's going on, people? What else? Ranch dressing is finally available in kegs. Good. And I'm sure that'll help with, run up the bill of insurance costs. That's got to be healthy for somebody. Give your freaking little nephew a thermos of ranch dressing. Kids in 4th grade sitting there sucking down a couple of, pints of Thousand Island during recess. Unbelievable. Just in time for the holiday season, Hidden Valley unveiled their brand new ranch dressing keg. They say it comes with a 1-year supply of ranch in each keg. Hidden Valley, that's what they call your healthy aortas. Hidden Valleys, you can't even see them anymore because you've had so much damn ranch. But you know what? I say that's a good way to go to heaven if you're going to die. I've always been ashamed that the only ways that we have to get to heaven are after or to deal with the body are embalming or burning, I think is the second one. You're going to burn me, guy? Oh, that's brave. You seem like a smart guy. You're burning up people that are dead. What an asshole. Why don't you go make a sword and burn down your neighborhood? You freaking sword maker. Because here's the thing. How about this? Fill me with fucking ranch, baby. Huh? Embalm this little bobcat with that ranch, boo-boo. You telling me that formaldehyde and that being what's it called when you're burnt to a crisp? Whatever it is, decapitated or something, are the only things that can happen to you after you die? No, way more options. I want to fill Daddy's body with ranch. I want to be embalmed with ranch. Take my eyeballs out, leave my mouth open, put me in the funeral casket. All my orifices open. Bunch of little things. Chips. Ooh, broccoli. Get them, pop, pop. Get them in my faces. Hit them orifices. Hit that mouth. Eye. Get that triple dip. Make me a little bit of a snack hole. That way people are actually enjoying their time at my funeral, at my showing. What about bacon wrap? How about you put a huge slab of that freaking thick, thin ham around Daddy's neck? Damn, boy, have all the dogs barking outside of that funeral house. Boy, you'll have birds at the windows ready to get in there and just take a little bit of a nip off Daddy's freaking head vase, off that neck, off that ham. But there's other things you could do. Black and dipped, baby backed. What if you went to somebody's funeral and their ribs had all been cooked and ready to eat? And if you wouldn't have a human rib, you're lying. You're a liar. And I tell that, I'm not saying that to make fun of anybody, but if you wouldn't eat a human rib that had been perfected, cooked, maybe over there at Arthur's Barbecue or whatever in Kansas City or in Wichita, wherever that place is, you wouldn't get that hit. You can lie to yourself, just don't lie to me, because I'm not listening to it anymore. That's the news right there, really. That's the news. Let's keep it cruising here. We had a couple of calls. I'm going to hit them. I want to thank you guys for being here with me. I'm in a little bit of a weird mood, man. I'm just feisty. I haven't smoked in a whole week. Man. And I would blow. Man, if you showed me a newborn baby made out of nicotine right now, I would probably blow it. That's where I'm at. But that only lasts for like about 10 seconds, then I get past that. If you told me right now that a young Viet was hiding a couple cigarettes in his, had a little bit of that backy smoke in his bloodstream, I'd sharpen my incisors and vamp down on that boy. Catch that hitter right out of that boy's young, right out of that Dang Tran or whatever, that Zhang Ti, that river, right out of that delta, that Mekong Delta. Just latch onto that boy's neck and just get that hitter. Just fucking rocking hemoglobin right out of that young Viet stream. So I could get that hit of that backy. But I'm a weak man. I don't even know how. I got to the point where I just was tired of smoking. But then here's what always happens to me. Once I tell people I'm quitting, I'm done, that's when I start again. It's like if I keep it to myself, then it builds up and it actually works. and I'll do it. I'll stick to it. But once I start to, like I'll go do something for one day. I'll go do some, curls at the gym, or I'll brush my hair for one day. And then I'll tell people, oh, I'm brushing my hair now. I'm doing curls at the gym now. Once I tell people, I don't continue it. I don't know what that is. I don't know why that is. I don't know a lot, man. Maybe that's where I'm at. All I know is that it's December. I do know that. I know that it's December, and I know that that I got a call for you guys right here. Let's get to it. Here we go. Just a couple.
Yo, Theon, this is your boy Tater from
What's up, Tater?
Savannah, Georgia.
Savannah, Georgia. That's artistic country. That's artism, and that's where it's paints and clay. Onward.
I wanted to call and say what's up. I'm a machinist. We make parts to go on airplanes. I just want to let you know that's what we're doing out here. I put you on the radio, playing over the whole plant. We listen to y'all, about 8 of us on a little skeleton crew, but I just wanted to let you know that's what's going on over here in Savannah, Georgia. You got fans?
Well, I appreciate that, man. You guys make parts for airplanes. Well, guess what? I'm going to say this. First, I'm going to say thank you very much. I asked last week who listens to this show, and that's why I wanted to play this. So we have a group of machinists over there in Savannah, and they listen to it at their plant. They got a skeleton crew, and thank you for that, man. I do appreciate it. I would like to say this. Your parts are always running about 30 minutes late when I'm trying to fly. So we just got a word from the cockpit that we need to get a new part, and we're going to be delayed for 30 minutes. So if you guys could step it up after your lunch break, because I know you're over there in Savannah. You guys out in there having pineapple upside down cake and wedding cake for dessert. Y'all having catfish and, baked cauliflower. Doing all of that sweet potato jambalaya, casserole. I'm on fire. Y'all having that suki now. Y'all having beer with lunch. Having wedding cake for dessert. Who the fuck is having wedding cake for dessert on a Tuesday? That's the problem sometimes with some of these southern places, man. People having 7-course lunch. Bitch, it's Wednesday. You having a 7-course lunch? This isn't a Bangladeshi wedding. Okay? Lunch is 1 course. Get it and get back to work. The second course of lunch is getting back to work. But I used to go to college at Charleston, man, and I love that area. Got some beautiful beaches over there not far from you guys. And I do appreciate you guys calling. Let's listen to a little bit more here.
I want to say what's up and comment for your boy that's wanting to bring other guys to the bedroom with his old lady.
Oh, yeah, that was a call that came in last week. That was what the follow-up was about. They had a gentleman named Adam who was talking about doing that cuckolding where you have other people come in and play your video game system, Because sometimes you got that PS4, that's why you only get one controller with it. Because they don't really want you having friends on it. That's why your wife only has one vagina hole, because that's for you. That's for you. But this fella Adam wanted to have people come over and, he wanted to do Ninja Turtles, where he having 3 or 4 guys jump down in that sewer hole. But let's hear a little more.
All I can say is fuck that. That's my pussy.
Dang. Gang.
When these people do that, it's just going to cause problems and bring unwanted issues into the marriage. They might seem like they're cool about it at first, but y'all get in a fight later on, it's going to be thrown in your face.
Yeah, you heard it, man. And that's a hard-working man. That man out there making airline parts. Well, look, I'll say this also. I hope y'all ain't smoking weed out there, bro, because I fly a lot. And if y'all out there, catching that cannabis to the brain, shut it down. Because I don't want a wing part that, next thing you know, one of these wings is made out of feathers. And I'm like, what the fuck are they making over there in Savannah? But I love you guys. Thank you for the support. Let's hear a little bit more. We had one more caller that called in about that Adams response from last week. Let's hear a little more on that.
Hey, Theo. This is Brent in Colorado. Just listening to your Thursday update, man. I love the podcast.
Thanks for calling, Brent. Onward.
Just wanted to drop some science on the podcast. podcast maybe, about the guy who was in the cuck situation, or a situation where he wanted to watch another man bang his wife. A little bit of science for you. They ran an experiment with the likelihood of impregnation with a sperm count, how high a person's sperm count was. And when they collected the samples, they would send the man home with a bit of pornography to, masturbate to.
Okay, interesting. So this is an experiment where where they did sperm collection, and they sent the men home with pornography, different types of pornography, when they were running this experiment. Onward.
So he could provide a sample. Turns out that the men who were given pornography that pictured gangbang, like multiple dudes with one woman. Oh yeah, dude, you talking about that buffet style? You talking about that family style, like when you're at that Bloomin' Onion, that thing when people eating from all sides of it. But yes, onward. When men got the gangbang pornography, what happened? The sperm count, or the sperm productivity, was much higher in those samples than if the porno watched only had one man and one woman. So wow. A little bit of science there. More? So there is some biological evidence to support the fact that sometimes you need to know your woman could be taken by another man. I mean, supposedly, I'm not saying it's true or not. I'm just saying science says you got to compete a little bit for that nut, that your nut is going to compete a little bit harder. That's a nut. That's called a nut off. When two people are trying to, out nut each other, that's a nut off, And they used to have, I remember being in elementary school, and this man, Mr. Larry, it wasn't elementary, it was middle school. But back when I went to middle school, if you were in there for long enough, and I've spoken about this gentleman before, but if you were in middle school for long enough, then they eventually they couldn't have you take the classes anymore because you couldn't get it. They would just make you a custodian. And we had a black gentleman at our school, probably been in 5th or 6th grade, maybe 7 times, Mr. Larry. Finally, he got a job custodian. But he was still friends with a lot of the kids because we all knew each other. We'd been in class with him for a couple of years. But Mr. Larry would come in and urinate in the bathroom and piss over our shoulders, because he had that hit on him, He had that club, he had that neighborhood sword that's burning down buildings, you feel me? He had that sword. He had that backyard sword. And so he would come in, and we'd be standing there urinating, and then you see that stream just come over you, come over your shoulder. And he had a perfect shot. I mean, he was just, just Pistol Peteing. He was like Sam Perkins down there, just Sleepy Sam, just, hitting you, just 3-pointing over you. And he would drop that over your shoulder, Mr. Larry, and piss into that urinal, and he would hit it, and it was pretty cool. But that was like where you got kind of out pissed. You were doing urine, but he came in and said, well, I'm gonna up your urine, and I'm gonna raise you. I'm gonna see your stream and raise you, this beautiful geyser that I'm working with. And he did that, Mr. Larry. And that's kind of the same thing, I think, what this caller is saying, that, if there's some competition, that there's competition in the works, and that you get that better sperm count, your body just knows intrinsically, oh, okay, there's other, there's other oysters here trying to pearl out, so I'm going to have to put a little more sand up under my lip, they just, your nuts know that it's time to full moon, you can't be showing up with no crescent, on Halloween, you can't be showing up with no crescent, and on Halloween, you got to show up with that full moon. Then you got to fire off decent sperm count, and that's what's happening. So thank you. That's interesting. I didn't know about that at all. But that makes sense, And that's what I'm saying, man. It's all the fucking people are fucking out there. People have this thing inside of them that wants to dive out of their body. Everybody got that Greg Louganis just hiding at the base of their wieners, trying to dive out of them. And that's a little bit of the devil, man. And that's a little bit of the Lord. And that's where your job is. You have to be your own referee. What's going to pass through these gates right now? Am I sitting here in this next spray? Is this for me, or who's this for?
Is this something that's proper? You know? Or is this just something, this is just a bad habit? You know? Are you creating something beautiful? Are you just nipping into the neck of another Viet? You got to ask yourself this stuff, man. Because everybody, it's your own journey. Everybody, it's your own journey. So let's take another call right here, man. We just got a few. We're not taking a very long episode today. I also want to tell you, you can go to theovon.com. We got some shirts on there you can grab. We'll have a new Onward shirt that will be going up this week. Won't be till later in the week. And we got a guest producer that's been helping out today, Chris. So I'm very grateful to him. I want to express gratitude to him. Thank you. I want to express gratitude to my boy Sherb, who, I don't know if I read Sherb's text the other day, man, but it was like the craziest thing that ever happened, man. You know, he didn't know he was getting paid this whole time. And here he'd been helping me out the whole time. If I didn't read those, I'll read them next week. But you can check that out. You can grab the 2 albums that are out there, 30-Pound Bag of Hamster Bones and Musket Fire. You can grab that album as well. That's early satire. As well, you can check out the special on Netflix, netflix.com. Give it a thumbs up or whatever you have to give it. Let's get that thing back into the rotation. You know, you got to support stuff that you like, and you have to do it online. And I know it sounds cheesy, but that's how guys get other opportunities. That's how they do it. I want you to support other podcasts as well. I want you to know that I appreciate you guys' support as well. A lot of great calls that came in this week. We had some calls too about the Oregon thing. You know, they had the guy that called in from Oregon, and I might address that again in the future. Some of you guys know what I'm talking about. Some of you guys don't. But I just haven't gotten around to kind of putting it together right, and I'm still kind of thinking about some of my own thoughts on it. Let's hear another call right here.
Yo, what up, Theo? This is your boy Luke from California.
What's up, Luke? Onward.
I just wanted to get your opinion on some things that have been going on in my life. I've been a victim of the dark arts these last couple of years. I'm married. I have a kid, you know, and I love my wife. I love my kids, or my kid. And, but like I always really had trouble being monogamous, you know, in my relationships. And, it's not for any, you know, it's not because I don't love him or nothing. I don't know. There's just something in me, bro, like that I just can't, you know, like I always have to be trying to have sex with other girls and shit.
Man, well, I appreciate you sending this call in, man. Let's hear a little bit more, and then I'll see if I can share anything from my own life experience. Thank you for calling.
I don't know. I stopped beating myself up about it. You know, I tried looking into like the biology of like fucking, you know, like human biology and shit, and you know, other animals, and see if this shit's natural or what. Like, are we supposed to be monogamous as human beings? Am I going against my instincts and shit? You know, I don't know, but just wanted to get your opinion on it.
Well, I appreciate you calling, man. I can certainly relate. You know, I'm just hoping these cameras aren't running out of video in here, but I can certainly relate. I can certainly relate to that. You know, having I don't have a wife and a child. You know, so that's intense because then you're really at that point you're locking in. You know, but I know that struggle of how I've been in significant relationships before and not been able to be committed at all, you know, and I don't even know why. You know, I loved the woman that I was with, but there was just something wrong with me where nothing was enough. That's what I know now, is that nothing was enough, and that women, or the affection of women, was this weird addiction that I just had to have. You know, and it sounds like you said communicating with other women. You said, you know, having you know, sexual experiences with other women, that sort of thing. But you know, you did say communicating. Let me go back and listen one more time right here.
But like I always really had trouble be monogamous, in my relationships. And it's not for any, it's not because I don't love him or nothing. I don't know. There's just something in me, bro, like that I just can't, like I always have to be trying to have sex with other girls and shit.
Yeah. Yeah, you always have to be. And that, you know what it sounds like, man? It sounds like, because you could change sex with women with anything. Always have to be drinking. Always have to be thinking negatively about myself. I always have to be feeling like I'm less than. You could change it with anything. You could replace it with anything. And at some points, I think that it's an addictive behavior. Sometimes we can have these isms inside of us, these behaviors inside of us that just come out. And for me, mine would be, drug use or flirting with other women. I just told you that I've been through, similar experiences with that for sure. And you say you don't even want to do it, but you just can't even help it. And at that point, that's when, for myself, I notice, well, this is a sickness that I have. This is an affliction. This isn't always a choice that I'm making. It's like something that I can't control. And when you can't control it, when you don't want to be doing something and you are still doing it, for me, that's when I notice that it's something that's out of my control. It's something that I need help with. And how you can get help with it, from experiences of my own, you can go to SAA meetings. That's just Sex Addicts Anonymous. SLAA, Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous. You can just go to AA meetings. Because in the end, it's not even about, your alcohol, your drug could be the need to get attention, intimate, and just even verbal from other women. Because that's a sickness, man. That's a sickness. It's good. It's fine if you're not, of course, look, if you're not in a relationship, it's fine. You're out there living, you out there sowing seeds, you out there John Deering, digging holes in that dirt, you know what I'm saying? And, hoping something sprouts out. That's natural. You laying soy, you laying cotton, you laying Milo, you got that corn, you got them beets, you're putting it all in the ground. But if you have a family, like you're saying, then something's heavier. And for me, it's just that it goes back to, for me, that type of behavior goes back to, I believe anyway, some emptiness that I felt, just that women rejected me or didn't want me. And it could go back to when I was very young, something that happened that I don't even remember. It could go back to just something that could have been happening, in junior high when I was really young, elementary school and junior high. I was not attractive to women. My friends always got the girls or had interest from the girls. I was always the dude like carrying the love letter from the girl, like to my buddy, And, sometimes that stuff just does something to our insides where we can't fix it by ourselves. So you're not alone, man. You're not alone. And if you can't beat it yourself, then that's when maybe it's not a bad idea to see if there's other ways to try and fix it. Because in the end, though, you're going to have to make some decisions and just say, I can't do this type of behavior. That doesn't mean you can't still flirt. It doesn't mean you can't still be a man in ways. But when it comes to that line where you're feeling demoralized after, because you're hooking up or you're doing this or that, that's the line where you have to try and shut it down. And look, I've done some wild behaviors, man. I've definitely done some things that I'm not proud of. I'll actually put a call on next week. We had a caller that called in, taking me to task on a behavior of mine, and I'll put that up next week. I'm looking forward to just sharing that, a little bit of that with you guys and trying to walk through that a little bit. I meant to do it this week, but we're getting late in the episode. But thanks for calling, man. Good luck. At least you're not being hard on yourself about it, but not being hard on yourself, that's one thing. But not taking action to repair it, the problem might not go away. And it doesn't sound like it is. So, I don't want to tell you what to do, but, if I have a problem and it doesn't go away, then I have to do something to help it remedy. For me, what I do is I go to a therapist on Monday, and I go to meetings, and those things help me. Good luck to you, man. Love you. All right, let's take one more call here.
Yo, what's up, Theo? I was just listening to your most recent podcast. You were talking about that dude who, is pornography cheating, and he wanted to get, some other guy to come drill his wife and all that. As far as pornography being cheating and all, I don't really think so. But as far as pornography as like a dark art, I really think there's something there, especially with how easy it is to watch. Now, I'm really talking about like with young kids, like with young men.
Oh, 100%, Cat Daddy. 100%. That pornography is easy. Think about it. You could be looking for a box of cereal, and next thing you know, you watching gangbangs. Never has there been something as insanely accessible as pornography. It's crazy. It's crazy how accessible it is. No wonder there aren't any more 12-year-old kids playing in the front yard anymore. They are jerking off everywhere. There's no way. If I were 12, dude, I remember being 12 years old or 11, going to the library, and they had this author or something, Peter Paul Rubens, I think was his name. He was a paint artist. He was an artist. And he had he would draw these Rubenesque women laying in the bushes. This is in like the 1700s or something. And dude, I would crack those books open and I would catch that bone. I'd catch that bone down between me, and I would put that bone between the books on the pictures of these ladies, these voluptuous ladies, and I would just kind of close the book against my boner until my boner just gave up the ghost, just threw that liquid Casper up into the air. And that's when I was out, And I was tormenting the 16 and 1700 art encyclopedias in the library there. But I was just young, and that's the first look I got at that crotch. And then later you had to pay this boy in junior high school to draw. He is the only one that could draw you some cooter. He had the best drawings. So if you wanted to have some cooter for the weekend, you'd have him draw you a picture of it, dropping $2, $2.75, and he'd sketch up an art of some nice cooter. But now these kids dealing with pornography, I can't even imagine. Dude, there's no way I would just be driving to school not watching sex on my phone if I were 13, 14 years old. There's no way. So I don't see how these kids are navigating it. And maybe they're doing it fine. Maybe it's just like in Europe where it's like, just because you can drink doesn't mean you do, Doesn't mean there's a million car accidents. I was in Canada this weekend. They can drink at 18. I didn't notice a ton of kids just, crashing cars in a building, constantly ruining their lives. They might have a problem, but I didn't hear anything about it. Maybe it's one of those things where, kids are taking care of it better, where they're a little bit more conscientious. I don't know. I got to look into that and see what some of the effects are of this pornography on young people. But where do I even find accurate information about it? How dare I read a news article? That shit is, come on. It's crazy. I just have no idea what's going on anymore. But it's also kind of freeing. Knowing the news is just juggling bullshit. It's kind of freeing, isn't it? Oh, we don't know what's happening. No one is going to tell the truth anymore. Thank God. Good. Because I think you got to get to the bottom of something before you can see what's there. You got to get to the bottom of something before you can see what's there, because you can't see what you can't see. But I appreciate you guys calling, man. This has been, I didn't know what tonight's episode was. Sometimes I don't even know what to talk about or what to get into. But I feel blessed that I have the ability to come here and share some time with you guys. Let's take this one last call.
Hey, brother. How you doing, man? It's Christian here calling in from Dublin. Just wanted to call and say, again, thank you for sharing your thoughts and your issues with relationships. And, you know, I kind of relate to it, man. You know, it's kind of fucked up, but I find what I do a lot of the time is I end up going for these girls that I know I'm not going to have a meaningful connection with because it's safer. I don't have to deal with actually connecting with them and ultimately, you know, dealing with loss or dealing with rejection or...
Yeah, 100%. I appreciate you calling, man. And I actually put the call in because I want to hear that accent, man. Something just takes you back where you want to just damn turn into Sean William Scott or... Who is it? No, not Sean William Scott. That's the guy from Dudes, Where's My Cars? This is William Wallace. You know? Are you not with your country? William Wallace. And he, but yeah, you're right, man. You know, yeah, you don't want to jump. You don't want to jump in. You don't want to, I think there's a lot going on. One is, you know, there's so much access these days to you know, to other women. Two is, yeah, we don't want to grow up. Getting married, committing ourselves, it's growing up, it's giving up. You know, three is, you know, we're afraid. You know, maybe we have weird relationships with our mothers, so we don't even know how to treat women. You know? And four is, I think some of us, you know, we just want to live, we have this thing like we want to live forever. And if we do things that make us grow up, or that seem like that grown-ups do, or that, you know, getting married, starting to have a family, those types of things, being committed, promising your affections, loving someone. If we do those types of things and really do them, then it feels like we're giving up a piece of our immortality, if that makes any sense. And I'm not trying to sound egomaniacal with that, but I'm just trying to sound like some stuff I'm thinking about. Those are the things I'm thinking about, man. Lay off the ranch dressing, huh? How about that? If somebody gets you a keg of ranch dressing, question who they are. You know? Or fuck it, paint your house with the shit. You know? Damn. I love being over here. What color is that? Huh? Remoulade? What color is that? Italian? I love it. I love you guys, man. Be good. Take care of yourselves. I will see you guys next week. We may do a Thursday episode. We may not. I'm going to throw some stuff up on Patreon for the Patreoners. Thank you guys. And happy holidays. Start the season now. Start the season now. Get in your car. Turn on the fucking Christmas carols. No one's going to be mad with the Christmas carols going. Nobody. Promise you. You can't be furious with rocking around silver bells. Figure it out. I'm going to try to. Thanks for helping me get through it. You guys be good. Happy whatever it is to you today. Birthday, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, nothing. Funeral. I'm going to go watch funerals on the internet. Love you. Be good to yourselves because you probably deserve it.
Celebrate living, celebrate misery.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Jonathan Kite, and welcome to Kite Club, a podcast where I'll be sharing thoughts on things like current events, stand-up stories, and 7 ways to pleasure your partner. The answer may shock you. Sometimes I'll interview my friends. Sometimes I won't. And as always, I'll be joined by the voices in my head.
You have 3 new voice messages.
A lot of people are talking about Kite Club. I've been talking about Kite Club for so long, longer than anybody else. So great. Hey, sweetheart, here's it Theo. Anyone who doesn't listen to Kite Club is a dodgy bloody wanker. Do you know what I mean?
Hi, I'll take a quarter pounder with cheese and a McFlurry.
Sorry, sir, but our ice cream machine is broken.
No!
I think Tom Hanks just butt-dialed me. Anyway, first rule of Kite Club is tell everyone about Kite Club. Second rule of Kite Club is tell everyone about Kite Club. Third rule, like and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts or watch us on YouTube, yeah? And yes, don't worry, my Brad Pitt impression will get better.